We've all had that disappointment of an anime that was announced, but never escaped development limbo. Even more so when you try to adapt a manga or an anime to the big screen in live action, be it financial issues, creative differences, or just being hard to translate one type of media into another. So that's what I'm counting down today. Here are 12 lost, cancelled, or unmade anime adaptations. We are talking about both anime for the small screen and live action adaptations of manga and anime for the big screen. Buckle in because this video is gonna get weird. Also, I made a Lost Media email account. Got any tips for Lost Media? Slide into my email. And with that out of the way, let's begin. Cast in the name of the fool, ye not pitied. Big O was a staple of early 2000s anime. It was sleek, stylish, and awesome. Imagine Batman cross 007 cross Getter Robo, and you'd have Big O. The series was a flop in Japan, but a hit in the States. Adult Swim financed the second season, and it ended on a very "what the hell was that?" kind of ending. There was an assumption that there was going to be a season 3. Adult Swim wanted it to happen on two conditions. They wanted more action and they wanted the mystery of the series to be resolved. Chiaki Konaka did not intend to solve the series, but keep the mystery going. That might have worked if the series was as big as, say, Batman, but not a niche mech anime. More importantly, viewership and DVD sales for the series were down across the board, leading Adult Swim to cancel Season 3 of Big O. That, plus legal issues, doomed Big O to the Shadow Realm. Other than the occasional appearance in Super Robot Wars, Big O is mostly forgotten outside of older anime fans. Still, I would have liked to have seen how Chiaki would have followed up that absolute mind screw of a season finale.
Negotiation もこれで終わりね。
When you think of mid-2000s Disney Channel, you think of Hannah Montana. I just think of awkward family get-togethers where I was horribly bored, and all the TVs were either sports for the adults or Disney Channel for the millions of kids that my extended family had because people from Albuquerque did not know how to work a condom. Where was I going? Oh yeah, Hannah Montana. From what I understand, there was a user of the Daizenshu forums named Wasted Wisher, who was an animator at Toei Studios Philippines. He had been low-key admitting then upcoming projects, such as Dragon Ball, Digimon, and Hannah Montana.
One of these things is not like the others. One of these things doesn't belong.
Wasted Wisher was the first to mention anything about a Hannah Montana anime. It was in pre-production around 2009 or 2010, which was right about the time the series was wrapping up. This was also right before Miley wanted to escape her Disney image and started going ratchet and writing amazing bars such as,
"Why they put the dick in a pussy? Why they put the dick in a pussy? Why they put the dick in a pussy?"
As of the making of this video, no R or anything of Hannah Montana has come to the surface, but it's been verified that the show does exist and it's deep within the Toei archives. It was hinted that the show would have been something like another Toei adaptation, Powerpuff Girls Z, which means very uncomfortable transformation sequences. I do wonder what a Hannah Montana anime would have been about, but at this point, unless there's a major leak at Toei, all we're left to do is wonder about what could have been.
Every Hannah ever made in order. Beginning Sunday, April 18th at 7:30, 6:30 Central.
Akira was a groundbreaking animated film for its time, and it still holds up. Akira, along with Ghost in the Shell, proved that there's so much more to animation than just kid stuff. Animation allows for creativity and storytelling that just cannot be replicated in live action. As a result, Hollywood has been trying to replicate Akira into a live action movie. Because it would make money, maybe, even though these ones definitely did not. Development has taken so long on the project that there's a whole Wikipedia page on it. Talks have dated as far back as the 90s, with Sony Pictures being the one to make it. Sony backed out of adapting the manga due to budgetary concerns. Then Warner Bros. Picked up the rights in 2002. Since then, the project has gone through writer to writer, producer to producer, all resulting in failure. There is two reasons behind that. For one, money. To do a series as stylish and action-packed as Akira would need a large budget, probably comparable to any modern Disney project. Why on earth did Disney spend $225 million on She-Hulk? While Akira is an influential movie for sure, it's nowhere near as big as, say, Dragon Ball or Bleach to justify a huge budget. Second, while Hollywood has gotten better about this, There is a legit concern that the very Japanese cast of Akira will be played by a bunch of non-Japanese actors, unless they decide to rename Akira to Kevin and have the movie set in Neo-Bushwick. Neo-Bushwick is about to explode. It has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? As of 2017, Taika Waititi is attached to Akira. Yeah, wait. We should be worried. As of the making of this video, Akira is still in pre-production. Waititi had to finish Love and Thunder first, and is now working on a Star Wars movie. That sounds fantastic. So he has the easy job of making a movie better than The Rise of Skywalker, but the difficult job of attempting to match a masterpiece like Akira. I kind of feel like Japan feels the same way about Akira, as there's been no attempt that I know of to adapt the whole manga into animation. If Waititi's Akira gets off the ground, I will shotgun a strong zero. But you know what? I might as well do it anyway.
Fucking love Lost Media. The movie's gonna suck.
Sometimes you have to wait to get your project made. Under the Dog was an anime created by Jiro Ishii as far back as the late 90s, but it didn't release until 2016. Not a case of development hell, but a case of waiting for the right time to make it. Under the Dog is different from most anime on this list because this was funded via Kickstarter. In the history of crowdfunded projects, this obviously wasn't as successful as Shovel Knight, but it wasn't a painful failure like Shenmue 3 or Mighty No. 9.
Make the bad guys cry like an anime fan on prom night.
Funnily enough, Keiji Inafune was a backer of Under the Dog. The team felt like the anime climate at the time wouldn't allow them to make the anime they wanted, so being crowdfunded allowed them to do whatever they wanted, and that included showing a bare boob on screen.
Nice!
Under the Dog is set in 2025, 5 years after the 2020 Tokyo Olympics were hit with a terrorist attack.
Yeah, Under the Dog was made before 2020. That was when there was still hope in the world.
The United Nations then started a special anti-terrorism unit which has many women in it, and one of them is Hana. She's tasked with protecting a boy named Nanase as things go horribly wrong for the both of them. I watched the OVA for this video, and you can rent it on Amazon or YouTube if you wish, but it is... It's well made, and there are some cool shootouts, and I do like the really drab color palette, but the OVA ends on a total Kawa bummer that makes the adventure mean nothing. The OVA went through production issues and it shows. The Kickstarter closed in September 2014, but didn't have any news until January 2015. One of the studios that was involved with the anime left the project, leaving only Kinema Citrus on it. And they must have fired their budget guy because Under the Dog went nearly $270K in the red, despite going above their goal on Kickstarter. In 2016, it was announced that Under the Dog entered a partnership to expand the scope of the series. What sponsor, I don't know because that site is down. In 2017, another Kickstarter was started to fund a special edition, which was successful. Reception to the special edition was better, but the embers never made a fire, so to speak. Maybe it was the downer ending that made the anime hard to get invested in, or maybe it was the name, because Under the Dog sounds like something you would say to your spouse when they are searching for their vape. There were plans to expand Under the Dog into a full TV series, but between production difficulties, the middling reception to the OVA, and everyone on the project moving on to different things doomed Under the Dog. The premise alone being undermined by how real-world events played out didn't help either. Still, it's a curious note in anime history. Toon Maker's Sailor Moon is so 2023, and 2024 it's all about Disney Sailor Moon. How Disney even had the rights to this series is fascinating. DiC distributed Sailor Moon, along with like a million other series in North America. Due to financial issues, ABC ended up owning about 95% of DiC. Then Disney merged with ABC for $19 billion. So by way of the merger, Disney owned DiC and all of their properties. Disney was eyeing up Sailor Moon for the big screen, with Stanley Tong producing. I did watch that Mr. Magoo movie back in the day, but I could not tell you a single thing about it. Rumors have that Gina Davis was going to be Queen Beryl, and either Kirsten Dunst, Melissa Joan Hart, or Alicia Silverstone as Usagi. Serena. And that's about as far as the trail goes. No concept art, script, or screenplay was ever produced that I know of. A combination of events led to the movie being scrapped early into pre-production, probably for the better, as other comic book adaptations at the time were notorious bombs. It took until X-Men and Spider-Man to convince Hollywood that high-budget comic book movies were viable. Well, Blade proved that earlier with its movie, but Blade usually gets left out of comic book movie history discourse for some reason, but I digress. And yes, I know someone's gonna be like, hey, Sailor Moon isn't a comic, it's a manga. You get the point. DiC and Disney did make Inspector Gadget, and well... I loved Inspector Gadget as a kid, but this movie would have traumatized me. Still, a bizarre 90s fever dream for Sailor Moon is something that should have existed, and I think Usagi would have fit in well with the Disney princess line. A series that got overlooked in the States was Astro Boy. I absolutely adored the 2003 anime and even got the Game Boy Advance game, Omega Factor. This is my childhood copy you're looking at. Sadly, my Game Boy Advance doesn't work so good anymore. Share my videos so I can get some more ad revenue so I could get a new Game Boy. Every now and again, we'll hear the news of a new Astro Boy project. In 2014, we would get a glimpse of a new series called Astro Boy Reboot. It was the collaboration between France's Karibara Productions and Monaco's Shibuya Productions. We get a teaser, some concept art, and that's about it. News would pop up every now and again, usually some art or some assurance of, we're working on it guys. Supposedly, a major network was blocking the release of the reboot. In 2022, it was confirmed that the show is going from 2D to 3D. Good god, what a downgrade. And as of 2024, no Astro Boy reboot. It's been 10 years, bros. Either release the project or move on. Shit or get off the pot. There have been other Astro Boy projects released in those 10 years. Why can't this one get off the ground? This is pure speculation on my end. I think the box office flop that was the 2009 movie might have scared Tezuka Productions and how third parties are representing their properties. I've seen the 2009 movie and it is average. Only really worth it for Nicolas Cage as Dr. Tenma. The movie might have done damage to the Tetsuwan Atamu name, enough to make Tezuka Productions cautious. Case in point, Pluto was in development hell from 2017 until 2023. Apparently Naoki Urasawa made production difficult. Pluto is a fantastic show, by the way. Far better than the cool material that most modern anime has devolved into. That said, they really should have gotten Nicolas Cage back as Tenma. And apparently there's an animated movie greenlit for Pluto from Illumination and Universal? That ain't getting made, fam. Anyway, back to Astro Boy Reboot. Whatever the case is, it's been stuck in development for 10 years now. We can officially say the 2D version of Reboot is lost media. If the show comes out at all at this point, I'll be shocked. Shocked, I say.
Well, not that shocked.
Outlaw Star is one of my favorite shows of all time. Not just anime, shows in general. It ended on a perfect note, but does allow for more adventures for the Starwind crew. Thus we got the proposal of Outlaw Star 2, Sword of the Wind, which would have been a one-episode OVA. In the OVA, Gene was the star of the show again, and it would have been him piloting a new ship called the Sword of the Wind. Gene hears of Fred Duo's disappearance and goes out on a search for him. Jim would have his own girl, but he and Gene would have a falling out. Melfina wouldn't have been much more than a cameo, and Suzuka and Aisha would not have been there at all. So you take an anime where one of the best aspects is the character dynamics, then you make a sequel that removes most of the characters. Genius idea! That would be like drinking a strong zero without the alcohol content. This proposal was quickly rejected. Creator Takehito Ito tried to salvage the idea as a sequel manga, but it never got off the ground either. We got another series set in the same universe, Angel Links instead. More importantly, Outlaw Star was an absolute bomb in Japan. People think that Cowboy Bebop and Trigun were duds in Japan, but that's not the case. Whenever I wear this baller spiked shirt out in public, I often get compliments on it from the locals, but when I show them pictures of Outlaw Star, they have no idea what I'm talking about. At the end of the day, I am glad that Outlaw Star Sword of the Wind never got picked up. It would have been a total mess, like me after I finished this case of strong zeros. To make my political stance clear, I am against war. That said, being able to pilot a Gundam in real life is a tempting proposition. Gundam is a mech series that needs no introduction, but some of you are going to have to explain to your wife why a new Gunpla model is more important than clothes for your kid. The one format that Gundam has not been able to breach into has been live action. G Savior does not count. Not to say there haven't been attempts to bring the action to reality. One pitch goes as far back as 1983. Then newly appointed president of Bandai, Makoto Yamashina, wanted Gundam to hit the big screen, and contacted Lionsgate, not that one, on a film. Pre-production started, and it would have used CG in the 80s. I can only imagine how great that would have looked. It was going to be a loose adaptation of the first Gundam series. We got some bits of concept art and a film treatment that thankfully survived the 80s. It never got much further than pre-production, as the project was cancelled as Bandai was not able to properly clear the rights for Gundam. And that's as far as this early attempt of live-action Gundam goes. It would not be until the 90s when Bandai bought Sunrise where they owned the franchise, lock, stock, and barrel. Did you know there's a position at Bandai Namco called Chief Officer Gundam? That must be the best bring your parent to school day ever. The other early attempt to bring Gundam stateside, Doozy Bots, never got past the pilot stage.
Hey, being a doozy bot is fun! Even cleaning up Scuzzy's mess is no problem! We'll be back!
The black and paraplegic kid getting a gun tank is both a racial and disability hate crime. Us proud Americans would not see Gundam until Wing graced TV screens. Then Bandai killed Gundam momentum by making Toonami air the first series instead of Turn A or After War X like what Toonami wanted to do. As of the making of this video, Legendary and Netflix are planning a Gundam movie. Given how good Legendary's Monsterverse series is, I can see Legendary doing the mech series justice. Imagine a movie that has Godzilla, King Kong, and Gundam in it, and obviously has Ryan Gosling, Keanu Reeves, and Timothée Chalamet in it. That would win the Academy Award for
best movie ever made.
The late Satoshi Kon made some insane shows, and he worked on the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure OVA. Classic Kon. His final movie was titled The Dream Machine or Dreaming Machine or Yume Miru Kikai if you want to be a weeb. It would have been a road trip movie about robots and be a light-hearted movie. Unfortunately, Kon was battling pancreatic cancer during the development of The Dreaming Machine, and it would eventually claim his life on August 24th, 2010. Production came to a halt, said to have 600 of 1,500 shots animated. There was a search for someone to take up the directing chair after Kon's passing, but no one was willing to take the spot. Not only that, budgetary issues reared their head. The project was in a state of limbo until 2018, when Susumu Hirasawa said that the film was cancelled as no one felt like they were able to match Kon's style. I've been showing concept art for the movie, as there were no trailers released. That said, footage of the movie can be seen in a French documentary about Kon. The silver lining about The Dreaming Machine is that MAPPA producer, Masao Maruyama, has said that if someone from overseas wants to try to finish the film, there is a chance that Dreaming Machine could be finished. A similar situation happened with a Gundam Seed movie. It was announced in 2006, but faced multiple issues, including the death of its producer, Chiaki Morosawa. However, a Gundam Seed movie, Freedom, eventually released in 2024 to a massive success. I do not see why that can't happen with The Dreaming Machine. So this is a call to arms. Finish the movie. It's the least we could do to honor Kon's legacy. Bible Black is one of the most infamous H anime out there. It was almost like a rite of passage for certain circles to experience Bible Black. As dark and grotesque as the series can get, there's actually a compelling story and deep lore that makes the series more than just your average lonely Saturday night viewing material. And in 2011, someone thought to translate the series into a live-action movie. Obviously, because cranking your hog to animation is degrading, but making a live-action adaptation of the animation isn't. But you want to know the punchline is about Bible Black live-action? It was going to be softcore! To be fair, there have been a few live-action versions of Arrow manga in Japan, so it's not unheard of. And sorry if I said Arrow manga in a very American accent. Bible Black live action was announced in 2011 by a company called Fever Dreams. It had a 1-minute trailer and some stills, and that's it. In 2013, production was halted. Media Blasters was asked about it in 2020 and said that Bible Black live action is being considered. Oh yeah? Well, it's been 4 years since then, and I consider this movie to be dead. I think it's obvious why this movie was cancelled. There's no way a Bible Black movie was going to be better than hilariously terrible. Plus, who was it made for? Casual moviegoers aren't going to know anything about the source material, and people who do know about Bible Black will be turned off because there would have been a lot of changes to get Bible Black into a coherent 2-hour ride. A 2-hour ride that wouldn't have any of the fun bits in it. Could you imagine a world where a Bible Black movie did well? And we could have gotten other adaptations of H manga and anime. Imagine a live-action version of Moon. Shouts to all of my Eternal Fighter Zero players. Or better yet, Yugai Tosho Kikaku or Arrow Grows. Have fun looking up those series, assholes. The legal situation that Robotech and Macross were in could best be described as a sheep body show gone horribly wrong. A tangled mess that took decades to unravel. Always remember the safe word. To quickly go over it, Super Dimension Fortress Macross was made by Studio Nue with Big West as a sponsor. Due to budgetary issues, Tatsunoko was brought in to help finish the series. Harmony Gold wanted to bring Macross stateside. However, it wasn't long enough for a TV broadcast. So Carl Macek Frankensteined Macross, Super Dimension Calvary Southern Cross, and Genesis Clamor Most Speeda together to make Robotech. And Robotech ended up being a decent hit.
Start your collection of Robotech action figures, each sold separately, new from Matchbox.
While that happened, Macross was in legal battles in Japan between Studio Nue, Tatsunoko, and Big West. Then you add Harmony Gold into the mix.
Your chances of winning drastically go down!
The end resulted in Harmony Gold being able to make some merch and new material for Robotech that involved Most Speeda and Southern Cross, but also allowed Harmony Gold to block Macross from ever being localized, with a few exceptions. Macross Plus is worth it just for Bryan Cranston as Isamu. I'm oversimplifying a very complicated issue, but basically Harmony Gold is the reason why none of these ever came to the States. Instead, we got these. There's a reason why many think that Harmony Gold is a money laundering front. Allegedly, don't sue me, Harmony Gold, even though I don't think you have the money to do so. Allegedly. That said, it seems like everything of the Macross series, bar Super Dimension Fortress Macross and Do You Remember Love, are now streaming on Disney+. Why those aren't on streaming even in Japan is another story. Due to all the legal issues, there have been multiple projects in the Robotech line that were cancelled due to a lack of finances or legal issues. Even lack of interest, as a Kickstarter for a Robotech project failed to meet its goal. Despite that, a live-action movie has been on the table since the 90s. Originally, Warner Bros. Was going to make a Robotech film, with Tobey Maguire producing it. Lawrence Kasdan wrote the script, sounds pretty good to me. Then the script was handed over to Alfred Goh and Miles Miller for rewrites. Then to someone named Tom Rob Smith. Wow. You went from the guy who wrote Star Wars and Indiana Jones to some nobodies. Then the rights expired from Warner Bros. To Sony. Sony had James Wan on to direct, but due to various issues, it ended up getting cancelled. Sony, being hell-bent on throwing random franchises to the wall in the vain hope that something will be the next Spider-Man, is absolutely determined to get the project made. After Studio Nue, Big West, Tatsunoko, and Harmony Gold solved their issues, Sony once again announced the movie was on the cards. I wonder if the thought of a Robotech movie motivated all parties to solve their issues. At the time of making this video, Hawkeye director Reeves Thomas is on board. Hollywood must be getting desperate for franchises if they're going to Robotech instead of anything more culturally relevant for a movie. Sorry to all the boomer-ass weebs out there who grew up with Robotech, but this series has not been relevant in years. To give credit where credit is due, Sony is tenacity incarnate. This is the company that greenlit Morbius and Madame Web. If anyone was going to be bold enough to bring back Robotech for modern audiences, it would be Sony. But only if they get Bryan Cranston on the project, then things would have come full circle. Anyway, here are some honorable mentions. How long are you willing to take to see your vision be realized? How about 3 decades? This is the story of Udu in Blue, a movie that's been on and off in production since 1992. Hey, that's the year I was born. The story starts with Gainax and a movie called Royal Space Force, Wings of Honya Misei. While it was well received, it was a total bomb. Probably because of the terrible name. It, along with the underperformance of Akira in Japan, nearly killed the anime industry. Fun fact, Bryan Cranston was also in the dub of Royal Space Force. Despite poor box office returns, Gainax wanted to make a sequel. However, Bandai helped finance Royal Space Force, so Gainax could not make a direct sequel. The compromise was Udo in Blue, or Aoki Udo, a sequel in all but name. There's been concept art, storyboards, and a partial script. However, the state of Gainax in the early 90s wasn't so good. Between Royal Space Force losing lots of money and Nadia being a total headache to make, led to Gainax being in financial trouble. Gainax was entertaining the idea of going to games full-time, given that Princess Maker was a huge hit for the company. Hideaki Anno was slated to direct Udo, but his mental health took a beating thanks to the difficulties of Nadia. Quote, a broken man who could do nothing for 4 years, a man who ran away for 4 years, one who was simply not dead. Anno was to direct Udo in Blue, but a combination of stress and financial issues led to the project being put on hold in 1993. Producer Akai Takeda thought that this was a good thing for Anno's mental health. Gainax then made Evangelion, which was a massive hit but ran into its own issues, such as these. With that said, Udo in Blue was always in the back of Gainax's mind. They tried to rebrand Udo into a multimedia franchise in the later 90s, with plans for a webcomic and a PlayStation game. It did get a CD-ROM and an EP, plus an Aoki Udo add-on for Microsoft Flight Simulator. That said, the planned PlayStation title was cancelled, and Gainax opted to work on other projects, once again putting Udo in Blue into limbo. In March 2013, Gainax would confirm that Udo in Blue is back in production, with a pilot pitch aimed at a 2014 release. Then 2014 turned into 15, and so on and so forth. According to director Hiroyuki Yamaga, development on the movie has been slowed due to, you guessed it, money issues. A lawsuit between Kara and Gainax also put a kneecap in production. The legal scuffle resulted in Gaina, formerly Fukushima Gainax, being saddled with Udo in Blue. Gaina had the movie planned for a 2022 release, which came and went. They knew they could not compete with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness at the box office. A report in December 2022 said that Yamaga is still working on the movie, and we're still waiting. And that's where the story ends for Udo in Blue so far. There is something admirable about someone sticking with a project for so long. That's a level of devotion most of us won't know. I would like to see that devotion on the big screen, but I'm not holding my breath. And there you have it. Those were 12 lost, unproduced, and unmade anime and anime adaptations. And when I say that, I sound like King Kill. To me at least, there's a difference between something that was lost and we just can't find anymore, and stuff that just wasn't made in the first place. But there can be overlap. And to be honest with you, the story of how stuff doesn't get made can be just as interesting as the stuff that does get made, so that's why I wanted to make this video. Plus, some of the projects I've talked about in this video are still on the table. Maybe we'll come here maybe like 2 or 3 years from now and be like, ha, the Zemo was wrong about that, but I'm not holding my breath. So that does it for me. So here's today's question. What's an anime or manga you think would be really good on the big screen? Let me know down there in the comments. And when you're down there, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell as well for notifications on future videos. Hit me up on all social media like Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at ZMangs. And with that, I will see you in the next video. Later, everybody. Take care.